welcome back to another episode of With Sonar. I'm your host, Luke Velasquez, of course, joined by my co-host, Kyle Taylor, and we are so thankful that you are here with us today. Today, we have a very special episode with a very special guest joining us, which we'll get to here in just a minute. But of course, it wouldn't be right if I didn't ask, Kyle, how are you doing today?
It's a great day. It's a great day to be alive.
It's a great day to be alive.
It's another day in paradise, is what we call it. No, but it's been a very whirlwind of a first month, really, because this is the first week of February. And so we're kind of gearing up towards what is to be expected to finish off Q1. January is always supposed to be a very, I guess, tops and turns.
Finish off Q1? We're not even halfway through yet.
Dude, we're 2 weeks from halfway point. Dude.
When you say it like that.
If you're not hitting your quota already, we're gonna start pitching the put that coffee down. We'll take this into a sales.
You're not halfway done like your Q3 quota yet?
Dude, I already hit President's Club like last week. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Come on.
No, it's been a great couple weeks so far.
Good.
A lot of ups, a lot of downs, and it's been a great time to be in the data-driven world that we're in. What about you?
Yeah,
Looks like you combed your hair today.
I did.
Thank you for that.
Well, actually, that's not entirely true. I did not comb my hair. I just kind of brushed it off to the side. I don't own a comb, I don't know if I own a comb.
Puts his head out the window.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but we don't need to talk about that. That's not what this is about. This isn't a hairstyling show. We're here to talk about SONAR, all right?
Yes.
But before we even get to that, so something that I'm really excited about, because we have a guest coming on today, and it's going to be very, very exciting. And one of the things we're going to talk about, this particular company, spoiler, it's in the description, ARL Logistics, they actually did a case study with us, which Greg will talk more about in a minute. But one of the things, and we've heard this referenced before, but one thing that they found that was very successful with the data was actually using it to develop their carrier and customer relationships a lot. And that's something that I like, and that's partly why we titled the show, how, with really, and we really want to talk about how important the relationships are, using data to really push carrier relationships as well as customer relationships. You can't have that in this world. There's too much information out there to not rely on that. You can't just rely on, hey, like we've been working together for a while to provide good service. Don't get me wrong, those things are super valuable and they're not going to be replaced, but it's not enough to simply separate yourself that way. And that's what we're going to talk about. And I'm excited about that. Have you been hearing those conversations? When you're bringing customers on now, do you ever talk about the angle and how they can use this data to provide that transparency to deepen those relationships?
If that was a layup, this would be the slam dunk, because that's exactly what it was. So yeah, no, that's definitely right. The key phrase, the cost to service your loads. If you're not talking about it and you're working at a brokerage or carrier, you're behind the 8 ball already. So being able to have data, outside data is fantastic, but if you don't have that internal data to be able to say, okay, well, this is the average number of calls that it takes to cover a load. This is the number of trucks we have to reach out to in order to get a quote. This is the steps that it takes so that you can actually quantify what is the true cost besides just, oh, I buy the truck for $1,500 and I sell it for $1,700, then you're already behind that. But combining those two things of, okay, what does it cost us? And then how can we make that more efficient? I think our guest here is going to really give us some great insights on that because he's got that operational mindset. And that's going to be the big focus today is ops. How do we make those better decisions from an internal perspective and then have that outward facing customer and carrier conversation?
So true, and I think we're going to bring Greg on in just a moment. Before we do, folks, if you're watching online, whether you're watching on one of our social media platforms, feel free to leave us a comment or ask questions, or even ask a question to Greg, who's coming on in a minute. Of course, also, if you're watching online on our website, FreightWaves.com, or on the FreightWaves TV app, and you want to ask questions, you can go to one of our social media platforms where this is streaming right now, LinkedIn, Facebook, and you can leave some comments there or ask questions. So just want to point that out. But without further ado, I think we should bring on Greg Morrow from ARL Logistics. He's the Director of Operations, and he led the case study that we did with ARL. Greg, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you guys doing today?
Fantastic, Greg. Great to have you on the show. We're doing well. As Kyle said, we are alive and well. It's a great day to be alive. And more importantly, a great day to be talking about SONAR.
Sure.
Greg, just give some of the folks listening and watching, give them a little bit about your background and what you do at the company.
Sure, yeah. Well, thanks for having me today. Director of Operations for ARL Logistics. So oversee the ops and kind of the back end processes from billing, AR, and then also our logistics agent program as well. So working to diversify and really scale that side of it out.
Excellent. That's great to hear. Now, Greg, there's a lot. Obviously, there's a lot of transportation companies out there. A lot of folks in the logistics industry. I know you all at ARL are doing a lot of impressive things. Tell us where's your niche in the industry? Where does ARL fit in the industry?
Yeah, so ARL's been around for a long time, and we've been around for over 40 years. Our transport side has a large presence in the drayage space. So kind of off of that, we saw an avenue to kind of diversify out to our brokerage team, which we spun that off and really developed that about 4 or 5 years ago. And our brokerage group is pretty diversified with customers. We do a mix of flatbed and van freight, and then sprinkle in there some international and LTL stuff. But really, the bulk of it comes down to van and flatbed freight.
Yeah, no, that's great, excellent. Now, as we go into this new year, obviously 2020 was an incredible volatile year. We've talked about that a lot on this show, and we've talked about that on other shows as well. But as you go into this new year here, right? We've got a month under our belt already of 2021. Are there certain challenges that you all are looking to accomplish, or are there certain goals you have your eyes set on? Now that we're done 2020. It's unlikely, the market's still very tight compared to what it was this time last year. Obviously, it's loosened a little bit, but tell us a little bit about, kind of where are you all looking to go this year? Where do you have your eyes set?
Yeah, I mean, none of us have that crystal ball, and I really wish we did to know what's going to happen in the market.
Wouldn't be sitting here right now if we did.
Yeah, I know, right? The SONAR data is definitely helping us with that, but really, it's solidifying carrier relationships. I think is a big piece coming off of 2020. We saw a lot of changes in the industry, a lot of carriers that were wanting to jump to that spot market freight. But I think it kind of highlighted how important those carrier relationships are inside of the broker community, and how much we really value that on our side.
That's awesome. And so for companies and brokerages that are out there that maybe just look at the load boards and just pray and spray and pray kind of method, and maybe don't really value that too much, what are some of the easy things that they can probably take away from watching this to start implementing in that relationship? What are some of the key things that you measure to make sure that relationship is as good as it can be?
Yeah, one of the things we definitely look at and measure is repeat carriers and how many loads we're able to provide them on a weekly and monthly basis, keeping them inside of our network, providing them with quality opportunities. So, if we are, if we're providing them with 10 opportunities a week, how many of those are they actually taking, and how many of those are good opportunities that they're really looking for? We never really want to waste that carrier's time. And kind of provide them with things that they're not interested in hauling for us. So we want to make sure that we're kind of getting down to that nitty gritty, evolving that relationship, understanding where do they need their trucks to be, what do their drivers like to take, what markets they like to be in, what do they like to haul, but kind of just that win-loss percentage behind it. So how many loads are we offering them, how many are they taking off of it, kind of helps us narrow down, and are we giving them valid, real opportunities that can help them out.
That's excellent. I think that's a really, really good point, Greg, and something that I think it's overlooked a lot, right? If you can continue to provide that consistent, those consistent opportunities for a lot of carriers, that really separates you out. Now you're not just posting loads on a load board. While there's definitely a place for that, right? Now all of a sudden you have that relationship, you're building that, and when there are emergencies, right? When things do go wrong. Those are the carriers you can point to kind of help you out in those situations.
Yeah.
How is that? We talk a lot. And I know we looked at the case study a little bit that you all put together with some of the folks on our team. Are there any particular high level data points within SONAR that you would point to that you think help some of the frontline workers develop their relationships with the carrier side, or anything in particular that helps provide transparency there?
Yeah, so I definitely think one of the lead indicators is still the outbound tender volume and tender rejection, and looking at that market by market. And I know that always comes up, but it truly is a huge telltale sign as to what's going on. Then being able to drill down into a market by market, the blue to blue map, is also extremely valuable. We're looking at that on the off side to be able to tell what markets are up and what's down. Where we have some time maybe to move the freight, and where we need to kind of get it out quicker. We always use the term, if we're going to lose faster. So if we need to, if we need to work on a load first thing in the morning, get it out, let's make it happen, and let's move on to other opportunities rather than waiting till 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon and still having the same result with it. So I think that, those areas have really helped us become more efficient as a team, especially on the ops side.
I think that's a great point, Kyle. And number one thing, he mentioned blue to blue. It keeps coming up. I think we just need to rename the show Blue to Blue.
Yeah, it really should. I mean, I pointed it out. It was the WithSONAR blue to the shadow blue at the bottom is what we're referring to. But
that's right.
But no, that's something that it's interesting you bring that up, because to the people that were tuning in last week, that's the exact concept that we were talking through last week, which was looking at the volumes. Where's the freight coming out of? Where's the opportunities for these carriers? And then that rejection is always a great index so that you can see, okay, is price moving up or down? Where's my opportunity? And then where's that money at? And that's how we're going to be able to capitalize on really margin expansion. And so with that being just brought up, how does the carrier relationship then impact maybe some of the margin opportunities that you have? Because it does seem like in the industry there is a little bit of a hidden aspect of what brokers make.
Yeah, it definitely impacts it. And being able to have that true partnership with the carrier and provide them visibility inside the marketplace, and give them some of that, a little bit of deeper dive, definitely helps them out, if they're working with somebody else or working with shippers direct. So, we kind of, that's where we build those partnerships. And it directly correlates back to the sales side and how we're able to work with our customers, and provide the valuable rates back to them. Because, we want to make sure that we're providing good quality data back to those customers. And, having that, not only the SONAR data, but the relationships, and tying those two together, gives us really good market insight to be able to not only give them rates, but give them an understanding as to why we're giving them those rates. So we're not just putting a number on paper, we're giving them some information behind it as well.
That is so unbelievably powerful right there. And we've talked about that before, right? It's not enough just to have a rate. Everybody has a rate, right? There's nothing special about a rate. We have rates in our system, and I tell folks all the time, like, it's a rate, right? Everybody has one. But it's what the why behind the rate, and that's so unbelievably powerful. And I remember when I was in brokerage, I used to have some of my customers, like when there would be rate changes, they would just kind of ask why, and sometimes you had legitimate information to back it up. Sometimes it was just because, well,
let's be real, Luke. Anytime you said the rate increase, it wasn't anything valid. It was the epitome of what a broker is on that punt. And that is not even to be compared to ARL, because this is not even the same thing.
Where I was going with this is, generally speaking, like, it was more so just, hey, I just need to tell my supervisor why the rate's going up. And generally, if I have that answer, they're like, okay, cool, thanks. I wish it didn't go up, but I understand now.
Right.
It makes the conversation so much smoother. And just like Greg says, it deepens that relationship, right? All of a sudden, it's like, hey, I'm taking care of you. Like, we're all looking at the same information together.
No, exactly.
Good point.
And we're going to stretch you out a little thin here, Greg, but how is this the same data that we were just talking about for carrier relationships, and looking at where you're potentially going to place some of the carriers that you have, or some of the loads that you have? How does that then apply to some of the new hire process that you have? So guys that are coming into the ops side of ARL, how do you implement some of the data so that you can try to get them, the green guys as going as fast as they can?
Yeah, so we make sure to implement SONAR as it's kind of our standard now. So as soon as guys are coming in, that's part of our training. They're kind of ingrained with it, so they understand to look at the data, look at it, in a more of an analytical type of way, and then come into it as a true partnership type sense whenever they're talking to the carriers. So really, if there's any guys that are guys or girls, green coming off the streets, it's kind of all that they know. They don't know any different. They understand transportation with SONAR, with the data behind it, being able to look at markets, analyze them, understand, where the ups and downs are, and then they can react accordingly.
Greg, something you said earlier too to capitalize on this with the carrier relations is you mentioned that Sonar looking at some of those data sets like the volume and the rejections, right, giving you an idea on where the markets are trending that day or that morning, understanding kind of where you're going to lose and where you're going to win, and I think lose kind of has a bad tone to it, but ultimately it's sometimes the market conditions just are in the favor of the carrier, sometimes are in the favor of the broker, and it's okay to understand that. But I think, like you said, having the ability to recognize those early so you take care of the ones maybe where it's not in your favor, right? If you're going to take a loss, take it early so you can move on as opposed to dealing with it at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Has that had an impact, and if it has, what type of impact would you say that's had on just maybe time savings of employees?
It's made us tremendously more efficient. We can look at the markets every day and kind of understand where we have to allocate our resources. So we know, hey, if we had to shift out east or shift west, where are we putting people? Or if we're heavy in one specific market, do we need to put more resources there? So from an efficiency standpoint, it's been tremendous for us.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes back to what I brought up right at the beginning is the cost to service that load. Have you noticed that the either the number of calls that it takes when you do have this up front has really had an impact on that total cost to service each load you have?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're always trying to move freight with less calls. I mean, that comes with the repeat carriers, of course. And that's our first goal is how do we use carriers inside the network. But reducing the amount of calls is definitely allows us to move on to more profitable areas. More freight, serves our customers better. Of course. So it definitely, from a load by load perspective, it definitely has cost savings there.
Kyle here keeps digging in. He's trying to figure out, how many, what your financials look like here. I mean, by the end, he's going to be asking you for your credit card number. So feel free to tell him to kick rocks.
Well, the next question that I've had in the back pocket, the bullet in the chamber here was, how many of those suit jackets that I've seen on LinkedIn with the ARL swag on the inside lined do you guys have walking around the office? Well, I guess now home office now.
Yeah.
I think 2 guys have those right now. So, that's I can see more in the future coming up here. That's for sure. I'm sure
40
we can
long.
get SONAR on the inside of one of those.
My size is a 40 long. I'm just going to slip that
I'm sure as soon as my expense report goes through George, it's going to to be A-okay, and it's for the show.
It's for the show.
It's an expense for the show.
That's a business write-off at that point.
Exactly. So no, that's perfect. And so where do you see this industry? Because it seems like having this information so that you can communicate to your carriers, so that you can make employees be onboarded faster. How do you see data changing into this next upcoming year? What do you see that you've just felt that that's just the natural progression?
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have seen this too. But the industry is becoming more transparent and open, and in a good way. It used to be an industry where everybody kind of hoarded their secrets. Everybody had that secret sauce that they thought was the greatest thing ever, and it's become more of a transparent, open type of market now where customers and, the shippers, the receivers, the carriers, the brokers, everybody has visibility to more information. They have access to it pretty easily. So, being able to open up and being able to explain that information and what they're looking at is extremely valuable because anybody can kind of look at something and jump to their own conclusions. But being able to accurately explain what they're seeing, why it impacts them and why it impacts their business is very valuable. So, I definitely think that 2021 and beyond, we'll see a lot more transparency in the marketplace. But I think that is very good for the brokerage world.
That's awesome, Greg. I've got one last question for you here, and this is a little bit different. We haven't talked about this one before. This isn't something that we've discussed a lot, and it wasn't something on the case study. But is there a place for maybe using SONAR? And maybe you've experienced this, maybe you haven't yet. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Is there a place for SONAR to be used potentially, like with a shipper on like the sales side? Maybe when you're talking to a shipper about a bid, a new shipper, right? That you haven't done business before. Is there a place to use that data kind of in that sales cycle? And if so, is that something you guys are doing?
Yeah, so we do dabble in that a little bit. We started doing that probably about a year or so ago, with providing the customers some market information. So we, weekly we'll send out some market updates and to inform them as to what's going on. But we definitely like to push our customers market driven data. It's we think that is that transparency that we're looking for. But it adds credibility to us. We're able to, and again, this kind of goes back to the rate. So if we have an increase, we're able to kind of predict that a couple of days in advance and know that it's coming, or know that something's changing in the marketplace, something's shifting, and we can really get ahead of it. And it just builds credibility for our sales team.
Yeah. No, that's great. I like that a lot. And because we all know in sales, it's all about, making yourself memorable, being, having some differentiating factor. For Kyle, we're still trying to figure out what that is. But, for the rest of us.
Still here. Still here must mean I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can talk sales numbers later, though. It's fine.
Yeah.
No, but that's spot on. There's only a few degrees of separation, it feels like, from broker to broker. I mean, yeah, we all are kind of different. We have our different networks. We have our different carriers that we work with from time to time. And so this is just another way. Transparency is this industry is a transparency-driven network. So it's only natural that you're going to lean towards, okay, well, I know why Luke is charging me what I'm charging. The other guy, I don't know why. The trucks just seem to fall off every once in a while.
Because I have great hair.
And then all of a sudden, I'm charging extra $500, and I have no clue why. Load to truck ratio, that's what it's, I mean, it's got to be. It's got to be it.
It's got to be. Right? No. Greg, we're going to part ways here. Kyle and I are going to stay on the show here. We're going to summarize a few things. We're going to pull up a couple of SONAR charts because, it wouldn't be with SONAR without a chart, of course. Maybe show the blue to blue map. But thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Were there any questions for Greg, just out of curiosity, before we kick him to the curb here?
Our guy Reed Clements is over here just loving every single quote that you had given on this, but no questions. A couple comments from our guy Frankie here. He's in inside sales for transportation, and he really agreed extensively with this transparency and really having that to make that decision and validate your decision. So
love that.
But yeah, a lot of great just comments on it.
Fantastic. Well, Greg, thanks so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. Maybe we'll have you on again here at some point in the future if timing allows. And have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
What a guy.
What a guy. Absolute stud. They're doing some good things. They're very intelligent thinkers. I mean, obviously, like they're super intelligent without SONAR. Obviously, right. They're thinking about it the right way. They're asking all the right questions. And like you said, they've been around 40 years. I mean, they're doing something right. And I love that they've been around that long.
Yeah.
And they're continuing to push the envelope that much further.
Well, it's just like your inner circle, your friend base. You want to put yourself around people who are also successful. So it clearly, we talk about success. Luke, on the other hand, is on the other end of that spectrum. But to finish the analogy, you surround yourself with people that really push you and try to make you better. And it only makes sense that ARL, being who they are, brought on SONAR.
Yeah.
They're trying to change the way that they have conversations with their customers and the way that they convey the message to their shippers who are paying the bills. Yeah. And so, that's where this has become something that only, select few who really can value that, use it, and are executing it flawlessly.
Yeah, that was a good analogy. Did you just come up with that? Did you practice that?
Got a list of it in my pocket.
Oh, the cue card is right there. Sorry.
Yes,
yeah,
yes. No, but to the markets, I mean, let's just go week by week. First week of January, we came out, and what did we see? We saw that those volumes are starting to decline. We saw tender rejection starting to decline. But then that second week, we started to see it plateau. We saw it level back off in the rejections, almost coming back up in some instances.
Yep.
And so from that perspective, it really gave us okay, is our rates falling or are they rising? Because this week they were falling and next week they were rising. And it only makes sense if you're looking at load board postings and seeing what rate per mile is on load boards. That's from 14 days ago. What's that going to do for you? Absolutely nothing. You need this up-to-date, as of yesterday, information to understand what is driving those rates to move, because we just talked about it with Greg.
Yeah.
A rate is just a rate. What is causing it to change from week to week or even day to day?
Everybody has a rate. Here, you want a rate? Here's one. I got one.
Yeah.
Here's another one. Great, awesome, good for you. Yeah, okay, so we've got it right here on the screen. So look at here. So the blue line, ignore everything else. The blue line is the volume. We've seen that before. That's how much volume is being requested by shippers to be moved on a daily basis. Now the green line here, and I'm gonna move my cursor to 2021, right? The green line is the tender rejection. So that is the rate or the percent of loads that are being rejected at the contracted rates, meaning those blue lines. So basically 22%, I don't know if you can see that all the way there in the left corner, the 22% of the blue line is being rejected, meaning it's going to be pushed to the spot market.
Yep.
And that is going to increase rates. Now, what's interesting is the green line, it came down quite substantially over the last 3 weeks, which was pushing rates down, which we called. And then really since the 27th, what's that, 4 or 5 days ago, they've actually started to creep back up. Obviously, they're still a little bit softer from where they were about 4 weeks ago.
Correct.
But they are beginning to inch back up. But this is a pennies game. It's just knowing like, hey, do I need to turn the dial up? Do I need to turn the dial down? That's all it is.
Well, to like what Greg brought up earlier, do I need to put Luke and Kyle on this load so that we can make sure that it's covered, or can we just wait and execute it with just online on a load posting?
Probably be the world's best service load if we were both on it.
Oh God, I mean, there's no line. But
anyways,
listen, it's not about Luke and Kyle. It's about WithSONAR. Yeah. And so to oversimplify what we were just looking at, which was this data, the volumes we're looking at, actual loads that are being offered right now. Don't kid around.
You mean a week ago?
Right now.
Like 3 days ago?
Right now.
Now?
And for a limited time only, with this purchase, you're going to get a set of tender rejections.
Hey!
Now, infomercial at its finest right there.
Shipping is free?
Yes. Just added into the cost of service.
Shipping, transportation.
So would you purchase, we're everywhere, would you purchase a $15 item with a $5 shipping cost, or a $20 item with free shipping?
I mean, obviously, a $20 item with free shipping. Heck, I might pay a $21 item with free shipping.
There you go. No, but that's just one thing that we've gotten a lot of comments on. There's been, and everyone always brings it up to us. People are starting a lot of new businesses right now. Yeah. It is that this data that we're looking at that's updated yesterday are loads that are being offered right now. We're not looking at the invoice of the transaction, which is what the load board services are providing you if you're looking at a rate per mile is, okay, well, this is what was paid 2 weeks ago. That doesn't help you, just like what we said, rates were going down first week, up the second week, continue to go up now, and it is so region to region that what is a 30-day average going to do for you? It's going to do nothing. You're going to be making bad decisions, which means bad business decisions, and that's directly going to affect your top and bottom line. Yeah. Just money. That's all we care about.
Leaving money on the table. But yeah, I mean, that's right. So we know the market now it seems that it has found its floor from January and is trending back up. Of course, that could change, but that's just the national average. It could change. Every market is different. Every lane is different, and that's something that we are capitalizing on and we're showing every day. And what's really interesting, and this is something we didn't show it, and I'm upset that we didn't show it. Maybe we could go back and show it next week when we have more time, but 3 weeks ago, there were certain lanes that were forecasting increases in rates for the next month.
Which is actually going to be a great segue. So next week, Kyle Littner, K-Ratio, is actually going to be on, and we're actually going to talk about this exact concept. It's going to be why contract rates are slipping, spot rates are starting to come down a little bit. What are you going to do? Tune in next week, right?
I'm excited. He is absolutely brilliant.
We should not be in the same circle as Kyle Littner.
2 Kyles on the show next week. Yeah, you're going to have to change your name.
KT.
We can make that work.
Okay.
So, anyways, and also, the Super Bowl is this weekend, so
my Buccaneers are in there as well.
That's right, man. He's the Tampa people, like
just a Tampa guy. If you didn't get that vibe from me, so
go back to Florida.
No, but
actually, I would
tune
like
in.
to be in Florida right now.
Tune in to next week. That'll be a great show.
Tune in to next week. Seriously, next week, Wednesday live, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, the same time. It's going to be an absolute fantastic show. Kyle Littner from K-Ratio is going to be dropping some serious knowledge bombs and talking a lot about the forecasting and how you can really leverage that for cost sake. And also we'll be talking a lot to the shippers as well. But anyways, that's it. That's all the time we have for today. Folks, thanks so much for tuning in. If you want to see more about SONAR, leave a comment below. Kyle or myself can get back to you. And in the meantime, have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday. And that's it. Take care.